This video is a testimony in response to some questions on a group that I'm in from Christians who are moms and wives and just trying to live the life, you know. So Elizabeth, this is I'm recording this because of your questions. So if you want to share it, that's fine. Anywhere. I know there are people in the thread that are saying, you know, I want to know how this question's answered too. And I'm not the authority on this, but I have a testimony because your questions were questions that I had. So I'm going to just share, and those of you, I'm going to share this on my page too. Some of you have been in church your entire lives, and this might be you. It might have been you at some point, and if it is, please post underneath. I would love to hear your testimony of how you did this, because you're going to hear how I did it. The questions were, how do you believe in God? How do you know for sure? I mean, not that you're saved, but how do you know what you're believing is legit? How do you know all the stuff you know about church? But how do you know? You know? And I get that. And I don't think it's unnatural for us to question those things. I really don't. I think that as Christians, we are to study to show ourselves approved. You know, we are to dig into the Word of God, and we have to know for sure that this is what we believe, because we are called to give an account. We are called as witnesses to this, just like the people that were standing outside the tomb when Jesus was resurrected. They were called to be witnesses, the ones he appeared to after he was resurrected. And so with us being called to do that, we need to know, you know, really what we believe, because a lot of people, and this is just preliminary because I'm going to give my testimony, but a lot of people they've been raised in church and they have no idea who God is. No clue. They're doing all the stuff. And when someone says, just pray about it, they're praying. They're praying about it, and they're saying, I prayed about it. They have no idea if God told them to do it or not do it. They have no idea if God said, I'm answering this or not. And not audibly, you know, I'm not saying that. But they have no idea how to hear God's voice, how to hear God's answers. So this is going to be a little bit about basically finding that relationship. And my testimony, I think, is probably similar to a lot of yours. I think the last question that the lady asked was about, you know, I feel lost. I don't have this church that I go to, and what do I do about that? Because I don't like church, really. I get that. That question right there is about church hurt, and we're going to address that too. So, starting way back when I was a little tot, when I was a toddler, I started going to church on the bus on Sunday morning. The church bus would come and pick us up in front of the house. A lot of you know where I went to church, and I am so thankful for those people. Warren and Geneva Kiggins, if you're watching and you know them, you know they're the dearest, sweetest people. I mean, just amazing Christian, lovely people. And they picked us up, and I remember we went to Sunday school and Sunday church, you know, and then we would come home. They would drop us off at home. So that was the bus route ministry that they did, and we went to a Baptist church. I'm going to be completely transparent here because I'm going to get those kinds of questions. So I went to a Baptist church. It doesn't matter which one, but some of you know it and some of you don't. And your experience at this church might be different than mine. So that's okay too, because you will have taken your own journey to getting to know God from this, you know, from this church. And so that I would love to hear. I would love for you guys to post a little bit in the comments about that. And Elizabeth, I know you can share your experience too. I'd love to hear about your church experience. So I went to this church. I remember coming home on the bus, and Warren always stopped at this little market. And he got me turnips on the way home. It was a weird thing, but he was so sweet. He always got me turnips, and I just loved eating raw turnips because he would buy them for me from this little farm market on the way home. But so we went to church, and when with my two sisters, and when my dad got saved, he took us to church for all the services. So we went I was 8 years old when he got saved, so we started going Sunday nights with him. There was a 6 o'clock service, like a teaching service, and then there was a 7 o'clock service. Then Wednesday night there was a 7 o'clock service. Eventually we started doing what people call soul winning. So that's just going out and witnessing to people. If you don't know what that is, that was on Thursday nights. And then on Saturday mornings we did bus route. So the kids that were like me, who went to church on the bus, we went out and we invited kids to come on the bus, and then on Sunday morning before church we would go pick up those kids who said, their parents said they could go on the bus Sunday morning. So there was a lot of church. In 6th grade, I believe it was 6th, and my first year in Christian school was 7th grade. So we started going to school at the church school, and that was 7 through 9. Yeah. Then, and I'm just going to go through this quickly, we're not going to talk a lot about it, but my pastor and his wife were arrested when I was in, I believe, 10th grade. So we started, they were removed, obviously, from the church. It was a lot of scandal. It was scandal, not sexual in nature, but money, and a lot of dishonesty, and so they were removed, and they served some time for that. That was a huge issue for us because even, you know, my dad was 100% committed to this man as the pastor. He trusted this man of God to tell him how to live his life, how to interpret the Bible, and this man betrayed all of us. And so that was a huge blow to my family and our faith, and you know, and you can tell from what I'm saying, you know, we were putting our faith in something that wasn't going to last. It was a man. But there were other people who went through different things than we did because we were kind of blinded to all the bad things that happened before that. And I know there are so many people, and I could name their names, I know exactly who they are, who are so hurt by what happened in that church. And I know that at least 4 of them have probably not stepped foot in a church since then. Maybe they have for a holiday, but they have not gone to church regularly because they're so hurt. And these are people that were in my very close circle of friends. So I know that the church hurt thing happens, but I want to try to, and then anyways, to just kind of go over it quickly, we went to another Christian school. All of us went. So it was kind of like we all just morphed, like we did the Oregon Trail kind of thing, moved to this church together, or this school. And then I went to Christian college in Tennessee, and I have a lot of people on here who went to that college as well. I won't say anything about that right now. We'll talk about that later. But then I went to another religious institution. It wasn't Baptist. It was, I don't really know, Church of Christ maybe, or I'm not sure, but they didn't preach a whole lot. I took a Bible class in that college. I just needed to finish my degree for it to be accredited. I needed to take it again, and so I went there just to get my credits in because they took a lot of the credits from the Bible college. And okay, so I went to that Christian college. Then I got my master's at that college as well. And then after that, or during that time, I dropped off the veritable Christian map, we'll say. I talk to God sometimes, but it was always like, yeah, I get it. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, and you're not going to talk to me. So that's how I talk to him. So how do you believe? How do you believe when you got saved, when you were 10, when you grew up in church, when you heard everything? In church or in school, we were able to memorize verses every week. We knew the Bible. Everybody in that school knew the Bible. We knew it. We can quote it. We can still quote it. But that doesn't mean we know God and we know why we believe what we believe. And so, and I don't think every church is like this, but the church I grew up in, I sat in the seats And the preaching I considered to be good at the time. Looking at it cumulatively now, it sounded to me like, here's all the things God says not to do, and you need to try not to do those things. So that's good, right? Because the Bible tells us it's our moral compass, it's our guideline. Here's what not to do. Try not to do it, but you can never be perfect. You can never get it right. All that you do that is good, it's filthy rags. Okay, we've got that. So, and God's watching you. God sees everything you do. God sees all that wrong, you know. So, whoa, like, my idea of who God was terrifying. He was this scary guy in the sky. I don't even know if he was a guy in my mind, but he was this scary being who was ready to beat me over the head with a big stick every time I messed up, or completely ignore me, even in my time of need, because I could not get it right. I couldn't get it right, no matter what I did, and that's what the church, I won't say that's what they taught me, but I'll say that's what I gathered from what they taught, because I know there are people that went to that church who don't feel the same way, but there are many people who do. And this experience has been shared with people that I have been to church with, and in our circle, and this is other churches, this is the same experience some of them have had, where you don't know how to have a relationship with God because God is a judge and he's scary and he's authority, and you respect authority with a reverential fear. And even with parenting, that's what we all did, because God was our example for that. And it was this reverential fear. So we had no clue. I couldn't defend why I believed what I believed, because all I could say was the Bible said so. And I was just blindly following that because I didn't have any idea who God really was, any relationship. And sometimes I think God allows us a Job experience in order to allow us to get to know him. He wasn't sent here to kill, steal, and destroy. He wasn't the one who did that. That was Satan. I think God, though, allows things because he wants us to come back. He's like, I'm here. I was here the whole time. I was here when you were doing great. And now I'm here when you're doing as awful as you can be doing. But you only notice me when you're doing awful. But I was here when you were doing great too. And so I don't think, like, I don't believe what people say when they say, you know, God always shows up when you're at your worst. When you hit rock bottom, God finally shows up for you, or God's there. No, he was there when you were on the top of the mountain. He was there the whole time. But you didn't care. And neither did I. I had gone through abuse and a divorce, and a preacher who told me, I don't care if you're scared, you need to go back home to that man. There was no way I was going back home to that man. He tried to kill me. And I know some of you know who he is, but it was terrifying. It was terrifying, and I was dead inside. I didn't know who I was, let alone who God was. I didn't know I was playing Christian because we were studying to go to the mission field. We were on deputation, and he was spitting in my face and threatening to push me down the stairs and trying to shoot me in the head with a BB gun, and, you know, twisting my wrists and burning them. And like, there are so many things, and, you know, that it really takes a toll on your like, how could God let me go through this? But so I went through, you know, another marriage. I'm married now, and I had PTSD so badly that at first when I got married, I was just so relieved that someone could love me. You know, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is my salvation from this. Someone can love me. But what I realized is that I had to hit rock bottom before I started trusting that God was the one I needed and not a man. And so, so that happened. That happened in February, and I won't go into detail about that, but I started just wondering, like, what, God, where are you? Who are you? And I started listening to these people, you know, different preachers and stuff who would say, you know, God is your father. He's your papa. He loves you. He doesn't want you to suffer. He didn't send you that trial so you could suffer. He doesn't do that. That's not our God. He's loving. He is with you through it, but he didn't send it to you. We are blessed when we go through them because we learn patience, we learn things, but that's because we cling to him. We are drawn to God when we go through something like that. And so what I did, the first thing I did was I started listening to preachers who weren't telling me God was scary. Okay, so if you've been in a church and you have church hurt, you need to find some preachers online, maybe YouTube and stuff, if you know the Bible, who they don't paint God out as being someone terrifying who is gonna get you because you're doing things wrong and you can never be perfect. Obviously you can't be perfect because we're human, but that doesn't mean God's frowning at you all the time. He loves you. He loves you so much. He let his child die for you. His son died. Imagine your own child. Many of you have children. Imagine your own child, you sending them to die. I don't have enough faith to do that. He did that so we could have fellowship with him, not just so we could go to heaven. This is not like, oh, I'm saved, so now I get to go to heaven and I don't have to do anything else now. It's a relationship that you have because he did that so you guys could connect again, so we could connect with him again. And I wasn't realizing that. I was like, well, I'm saved, I'm going to heaven. He doesn't like me now, so I'm not going to talk to him. But when I hit rock bottom, when I realized I am so broken that I cannot get out of this hole. I'm in pieces, and no person can make me whole right now. I need some help. So I started, first of all, number one, listen to, if you hear a preacher who's making you scared or think God is a horrible person, you need to really concentrate on, is this person speaking Bible truth? Is this person telling me, because if you've been in church, you know, if this person is doing that, is this person making me feel like I can't have a relationship with God? Because that's not the person you need to be listening to. I'm sorry, it's just not, and I don't care how people think about that, what I'm saying, but if you are, yes, we need to preach the truth, obviously, we know that. But when a person, it doesn't even know how to have a relationship with God and all you're preaching is the tough love truth, they're not getting it. You've missed something. You have missed something. And I don't know if any preacher is going to listen to this, but you need to understand that there are people that are just begging to know God loves them. They're begging to know who he really is as a father, not as a judge, as a father. And what, they've never known an earthly father that's done good to them, so they don't even know that God can. And that's something that preachers need to concentrate more on. I think that we have this mantra, we can't just preach the love, we have to preach the hard stuff too. And the hard stuff is invigorating to preach, because I've seen preachers and I've been stirred by preachers who have preached to get it right, and I'm a straight talk person, and so I like to hear get it right. Stop doing what you're doing, get your life back in order, quit whining about it, fix it, and get on the right path. I like that preaching because I feel invigorated and energized by it. But I think it's because I never knew the other type. I was never able to feel invigorated and energized by a preacher saying God loves you. And I do now. I do now. Those of you who, ladies, listen to, and you guys need to not get all spiritual on me about this. Listen to Real Talk Kim. She does pastor a church with her husband, but She also ministers to ladies on Periscope and YouTube and Facebook. And she just sits in front of her phone like this and she speaks to them about relationships and about things like that and gives her testimony. You need to listen to someone like that. You don't have to listen to her preach on Sunday, okay? But you need to listen to someone like that who knows the Word of God, who has been through something, and they've come out on the other side knowing God's love. They know how to do it right, but they know God's love. If you're talking to someone who's never been through anything, they might not be there yet. You know, they might not be there yet where they know God and they know His love. So this is long, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm trying to really get to all the questions that were asked. So that's the first thing I do, listen to people who can teach you and invigorate you and energize you in the love of God. And in that relationship, you're going to find, yes, I can be in line with all the right things to do. I can learn all the right things, but it's because I love God and He loves me and I want to do these things, not because I'm scared of Him and I have to do them because it's in the book and it's a list of things I have to do right and I have no real relationship. That's something that is a huge problem in Christianity today. So we need to fix that. So after you've begun to listen to these people, at the same time, you need to be reading the Bible. What I did, and I'm not going to tell you what to do as far as reading the Bible. I started in Psalms because I was broken and I needed to hear when David said, you know, hear my cry, O God, attend unto my prayer. From the ends of the earth will I cry unto thee. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I would cry, and I would pray that, and I would sing it because we sang it when I was little. I would pray that, and I would just cry. I didn't have any, I said, you know, God, show me who you are. And I would read Psalms, and I would say, you're this, and you're this, and you're this. And I got a notebook, and I wrote down, every time it said God was something, I wrote it down. Oh, He's my Redeemer. He's my rock. He's my deliverer. He is my shelter. He's my fortress. Like, I'm looking at things like He's a protector, and He sets me apart, and He blocks the enemy. Like, man, that's a father, your own father, my own father protects. He would protect me from anything. And I, as a mother, as a parent, would protect my kids from anything. And so, you know, all these things where, yes, we have God as a judge. You need to learn, if you know God is a judge, and you have this awful, like, oh, He's just judging me. You need to learn what it means to enter into the courts of heaven and pray in the court and go before, like the widow woman went before the court and said, I've been doing this, you know, Father, if this person can be merciful, can God be merciful? God can be merciful. You got to block. Satan is saying things against you day and night. You need to block that. You need to get to the point where you learn these things pretty deeply, you know, and it's more than just knowing some Bible verses and feeling something. You really need to study. Like, how do I enter into the courts of heaven? How do I plead my case? Because the devil's pleading against me. He is my prosecuting attorney, and he is there day and night. So you need to be there. Be instant, in season and out of season. Pray without ceasing. Be ready to go to court, to plead your case, to cancel things, to annul things, to fight against things. That's extra. Some of you have never experienced that, and in a Baptist church, nobody talks about that. Like, I seriously have never heard that, and I've been to conferences my entire life, and I have never heard anyone talk about the courts of heaven, and it's very important. It is life-changing important. So how do you believe? You believe by having a personal relationship with God. You will know who you are as a Christian by your relationship. How do I do that? I read the Bible, and I mean read it. Sit down in your quiet time, have a secret place. Bob Sorge, S-O-R-G-E, Secrets of the Secret Place, Psalms 91. Hear that, write it down, get that book, and first read Psalms 91. Man, we have angels keeping us our ways so we don't slip. We have a fortress. He's protecting us under His wing. It's so good, so good. And it's in that secret place, our place with God, where we go and we plead and we just lay it all out. Now, this doesn't sound practical to some people, so I'm going to be very practical and transparent. When I watched War Room, and somebody had recommended it to me, thank God, right in the beginning. So I watched War Room. I cleaned out a part of my closet, my walk-in closet, and I made a war room. That war room has been my secret place. It's been my sanctuary. When I enter into that war room, I talk to God like he's right there, because he is. God, this is what happened today. And it's real talk. It's not, oh, Holy Father, hallelujah. It's none of that. No, I will get into praise during prayer at the beginning. But we have straight talk in there. God and I sit down, and you talk about commune, we talk. I get it all out, and it's not just complaining, because then I say, now I need to learn. This is what you say. Bring your thoughts into captivity. What did you say to the obedience of Christ? What did you say about this? I'm hearing it's like a biblical cognitive behavior therapy. I'm hearing I'm worthless. What did you say? I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Oh, I'm made in your image. I'm a goddess. We're goddesses. We were made in God's image. So in that fact, you give yourself biblical cognitive behavior therapy, which means you call out the thought that is the wrong thought, and then you match opposite match it to the Bible thought, to the biblical truth. And that's the truth that you quote in your head. Every time that thought comes in, you quote the Bible. No, Satan. This is what God said. Get out of my head. And you need to be intentional about that, because you're not going to know who God is until you've got him here all the time, and you don't have Satan in there saying, you're worthless, you're nothing, you don't even know your stuff, you don't even know that you're a Christian. And he's got you to the point where you're really worthless to God, because God can't use you when you are sitting there going, well, I don't know him, so I'm not going to do anything. So get to know him. Sit down with his word. Like I said, I read Psalms a lot. Proverbs, a lot of people read Proverbs because they are these easy, quick things that you can be told to do. I found Proverbs to be discouraging in that time period when I was really broken, because I didn't know who God was, so being told to do all these things and to get wisdom and to this and that, and I was like, ugh, I can't do all these rules because I don't even know who God is. And so I just dug in. Like at Psalms, I heard David crying out to God and telling God, my sins before me. I created me a clean heart and renew a right spirit in me. And I would pray, I would plead. You plead the Bible to God. He knows his own word. He hears it. And if you don't know it, Google it. Well, I need verses on stress because I'm stressed out. And you say, God, you said, if I cast my care on you, you would care for me. So you tell God, hey, I heard you say that. Now you do your part because I need you. You need your father. Just like a child needs their father, you need God to be there. And you need to, it's not like testing him, but it's like claiming him. It's claiming his word. If God said it, you can take it to the bank. It's a promise. And we have this idea in our heads that, well, God said it, but the timing, he didn't do it. Well, he didn't do it yet. And your faith has a lot to do with it. And so you increase your faith. In Luke, they cried out, God and Jesus, increase our faith. You pray that. Increase my faith. And I kept doing that in my secret place. I would go there and I would hear people say, well, I did that. I went to my war room and I got one and it looks really pretty, and I even lit a candle in there and it smells good, and I go in there and I don't hear God. And so I just left. Don't leave. Do not leave your secret place until you feel the Spirit of God speaking to your heart. Do not leave. So when I go in, I know that I cannot go in when I have to be on a time limit because God is not on my time. And so when I go in there, I have to be completely, it's usually at night because I will stay in there for hours. It doesn't always take that long. And what I started realizing is all those times back in the past when I said, oh, it's God's will, I prayed about it. I had no idea what I was talking about. No clue. That was a lie. It was not God's will. I prayed about it, but I told God what I wanted him to do. I begged him to do it. And then I told someone else that's what he said. And it's because he didn't physically strike me with lightning to get me not to do it. I had no idea how to hear his voice until I started seeking who he was before all the rules. Forget the rules. I know the rules. You guys are looking at me with tattoos. I've got a bunch of them. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's a rule. That's a rule in the Old Testament. You got to study. You got to study your rules in context. What is the context of the time? What was God saying about that and why? Tattoos had a lot to do with worshiping the dead and infertility. And you have to know why God said what he said. So I was also told not to wear red nail polish. Our church talked about chokers and anklets being like very worldly and of the devil because of prostitution in the Bible and slave sex and all that stuff. So, I didn't even study that because I just think, what? And we couldn't go to Applebee's because they had alcohol there. Now, if you still don't do those kind of things, I'm not saying you should start doing them. But I'm saying when you don't even know who God is, who cares what all this stuff is? Like, we're trying to concentrate on keeping people looking good, don't look like the world, but inside you can be completely dead and not know who God is. But at least you have a skirt on. At least you have hose. At least you're not wearing red lipstick and mascara or red lipstick and nail polish. At least you're fixing your hair every day. Not looking like a homeless person. You're representing God. Representing who? You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. If you don't know who he is, and some people might be saying too, like, I thought I knew who he was, but I'm kind of doing the same thing you were doing. Yeah, it's God's will, and I don't even really know if I heard him say that. You don't have to hear him audibly. I'm not saying that because I don't think that happens. I won't say never because I don't want people being mad, but I think he speaks to us through people, his word. Dreams, he says he speaks to us through dreams in the Bible. And if you get a dream, write it down, because that doesn't mean that he's going to speak to you, like, fulfill it right then, but you might be getting a dream from God for instruction or something he's showing you for your future. And you might be getting a dream. If you're getting these nightmares, don't be like, God sent me this nightmare and he's going to make my marriage end. No, that's not God. Okay? Satan also sends you things to bring fear. God is not this, he does not bring you fear. So if you have something that's coming on you that is bringing heavy fear, that's not God. Don't put that on God. He didn't do that to you. So you have to combat that. But I'm getting off track. So when a lot of people who are really raised Christian, they're the ones that, and I'll say we're the ones, because I was raised Christian, that don't know God. We are saved. We're on our way to heaven because we believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and he is our only way to heaven. We believe that. We have faith that that is true and that he rose from the dead. He ascended. He took the keys of hell. He ascended. And he's on the right hand. And we're going to see him again someday. He's coming back. So we believe that. We've got that covered. And then after that, it's kind of like, now don't be bad. So, man, it's tough. Because I think a lot of times those things are skipped. Now, it can't be all the way, God's love, everything you do is fine. It can't be that. Because there are things in the Bible that God says, you need to not do this. You're a child of God. You're in the kingdom. Separate yourself. Be sanctified. But if you don't know why you're doing that, then it's pointless. It is absolutely pointless. Okay? And to be a doer of the word. So we're to be doers and not just hearers. But to be a doer of the word, you need to understand why you're doing it. So I got in my war room and I dug in, and I didn't leave. I would pray and I wouldn't leave. And I would ask the Holy Spirit to speak to me. I would ask God to show me who he was. I would read the Bible, then I would pray again. And while I was doing that, God was opening my eyes. He was opening my spiritual eyes. Scales were falling off. Think of Saul. Scales were just falling off my eyes. Like, you have been trying to have one foot in, one foot out. You've been trying to please people instead of me. And I'm loving you so much here. I'm still here. You know, he was saying to me, I'm still here waiting for you to learn me. Man, that's an amazing feeling when you get there. So that's really what you need. I think what we need to do is learn who God is. Really learn him. Get in his word, because that's his love letter to you. I remember when I was younger, a preacher had us say in Genesis 1:1, right before it, Dear Stacy. We wrote our name, dear. And then in love, God, at the end of Revelation. And that was our love letter from God. That was the letter we could read every day. I mean, how many of you have gotten a love letter from a beau, a husband, whatever, and you read it over and over and over again, because every time you read it, it made you feel warm and fuzzy? That's what that is. That's our warm and fuzzy. That's what keeps us in fellowship. That's how he speaks to us right there. Like I said, he does speak in dreams. He absolutely speaks in dreams. He absolutely speaks through other people. And you need to be open to that and listen. Listen, because the Spirit's there. But you also have to do your part. You have to read the Bible. And I will tell you, because I know that some people are sitting there thinking, I already know the Bible. Yeah, I read a chapter in, I don't know, Joel this morning. So yeah, you read a chapter. What did you get? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I read the Bible all the time. If you went to Christian school with me, you know we memorized like 10, 20 verses a week. And we read all the time, and we wrote notes, like 10 pages of notes in a Bible class. You know, what are you retaining from that? We went to church every time the doors were open. So, it's something that you can do. You can do all the right things and have no idea who God is. And a lot of you have not gone through, you say, you know, I haven't gone through what you've gone through. I haven't gone through a divorce. I haven't gone through abuse. I haven't gone through a pastor getting arrested. Pastor was my dad. He was awesome, you know, but that doesn't mean you know God. And I'm not trying to talk you out of knowing who God is, but I'm trying to get you to really evaluate, do you know your Papa? Do you know your Father? Do you know how much he loves you? Do you feel inside that closeness with him as you would your own father, as you want to with a father? Because some of you have never known a loving father, but that closeness with him that says, man, you would do anything for me. You want the best for me, and I can come to you and I'm protected. I know when I told you I went through abuse when I got married to David. When he hugged me, I would, instead of hugging him, I would tuck my hands in like this and just lean in. Because when he put his arms around me, I felt so protected. I felt like I was so safe. And I needed that so badly. And now I know that that's God. God is wrapping his arms around me. I'm under his wing. He's making me feel so protected and safe. And that's exactly what you need to be able to feel. And if you don't feel that yet, if you're still feeling all the fear without the safe, and you're still feeling all the judge without the love, then you have work to do. And it's going to happen by listening to people who tell you how to recognize God's love and how to recognize who he is. And it's reading the Bible and praying until. I used to listen to Dr. Phil because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I loved Dr. Phil. And he used to say to men, and this is not related to God, but he used to say to men who had cheated, and they said, well, I let her have my password and she looks at my phone still, and I'm so mad about that. And he said, you do it until. And they're like, until what? Until. You do it until. You let her do that until the trust comes back. She doesn't need to do it anymore. You messed up. And this might not be the most biblical about cheating and forgiving and stuff, so don't put it with that. But I'm saying with God, you do it until. You don't say, oh, well, I didn't get it. Keep digging in. You need to keep pressing in. Press in further. Press in longer. Don't tell God, your timing isn't my timing, so I need to go. I'm busy. If you really want to know God, and you really want to know what you believe and why you believe it, and you really want to feel the love because you already know the judge, then you need to press in and not give God a timetable to show you, because a lot of it is because we place God as a human in human capacities and human emotions, and God is not like that. And until you get to know who he is as a God, as the God, the Father, you'll keep putting him there. You'll keep putting him in. He's a human. He's not a human. So, to sum up, I know this is long. I'm really sorry it's so long. I was like, I'm going to get on there. I'm going to talk for 10 minutes, and it's been 40 minutes already. So this is kind of like a message. This is a whole sermon for you. But how do you believe? It's practical. You dig in to the Bible, and you ask God to show you. Show me who you are. I kept telling God, if you're my Father, show me. Show me. My PTSD from my previous abuse was affecting my marriage. And I read in Isaiah, God said, I'm your maker. Your maker is your husband. So I don't need my husband to fulfill the role of making me whole. That is not his job. God is that. And so when I saw that, I started praying, God, you said this in Isaiah, I want you to be my husband. I'm not throwing away the one I have, but you fulfill those insecurities. You take them away. You show me who I am in you. You take away the void that I feel that has nothing to do with my husband, that he did not put there. Someone else put there. And I've been broken since that time. You fill that. And he did. And I said it until he did it. I said it until he did it. And part of it was me having faith that he was going to do it, but I said it until he did it. And I remember feeling so broken one night, and I wrote it in my journal. I know the exact date. I said, God, I was bawling my eyes out, and I said, you got to take this right now, this pain that I'm feeling. If you are my husband, you need to heal this void that I have, where I think I need security from a husband, and I need to be built up and told I'm all this from a husband. I need you to be that. I need you to do that right now. I need you to do it right now. And I praised him for doing it, and I kept telling him I need it, and I kept doing it until he did it. And I remember the feeling of it just lifted. It lifted off of me. I'm sorry. If you've ever felt that, if you've ever been in your secret place and you have cried out and God has answered you right then. you know he's real. And you don't have to ask, why don't I believe what I believe anymore? Not one time will you ever ask it again. You've never had a God encounter if you're still asking why you believe what you believe. Let me say that again, because you need to hear it. You have never had a real God encounter if you're still asking why you believe what you believe. Because once he shows you who he is, once you are completely open and raw, and he shows you who he is, you will never question it again. Your faith will be strong. It will be so strong. Okay? So I want you to have that confidence that you will get there, and you need to keep praying, keep pressing into the word. Make it intentional. Don't say, I already know the Bible. I already know it. I don't need to read it. Man, I thought I did. I'm telling you. And I realize I've taken a spiritual gift inventory, and a few of my top gifts I've learned are things about God showing me unique things from the Bible when I'm reading. Unique insights into the Bible. And so it's not like no one else can know them. It's just that when I read, I hear these things that are different than I've ever heard before. I've been in church since I was 2. I've gone to teen conferences. I've gone to women's conferences. I've gone to youth, everything. I've gone to, if you've heard of it, I've been to it in the Baptist circle. And some of these things I've never heard a preacher say in my life. I've never heard a preacher say. And it's right there in the Bible. And I'm like, it's right there. Wow. Why have I not heard this? God didn't tell them. He was wanting me to get in there and to look at it, just analyze it. And I get in and I'm like, I'm going to read 2 chapters, 3 chapters today. I get in and I read 3 verses, and God pours something into me that is so life-changing, and I write it all down, and I've got a whole thing. I'm like, man, I wish I had a husband to preach this message, because I'm not a preacher, but this is good, you know. And so I've been sharing it with some of my groups, but, you know, you got to get in there. Even if you think you know the Bible, you have to get in it. So many times we think we know already, and we can quote it so we know it. But what about the verse before it? Did God have something to say to you there? I recently, like I was saying in my video, and I'm going to end after I say this, I recently I'm reading in Esther, and I know the story of Esther. It's an amazing story. I mean, it is such an amazing story. When we look at the women in the Bible, you think, oh God, that it was so oppressive back then. Man, God showed so many times how he used women. So many times. Women were there to see him come out of the tomb, or be out of the tomb. You know, come on. He used Esther, he used Ruth. I mean, we know there are women. He specifically made sure those inspired stories were there because he needed us to see these women. Oh, you can do amazing things as a woman of God. And so Esther, amazing story. I love it so, so much. But what about chapter 1? So I usually read chapter 1 really fast and go to chapter 2 if I'm reading it. And then I even told Cora the story of Esther and how cool it was. And she was listening, and she's like, this is like a princess story. You know, she was so excited. But I thought, oh my goodness, chapter 1. Look at chapter 1. Vashti went through this situation that she should never have gone through. She was at a place where her husband, with all these princes, 7 chamberlains that he was taking advice from, he was drunk, partying, and he sent for Vashti. And she said no. She's not coming. She's not going to come and parade herself around. She's a queen. Whether she was proud or whether she was standing as a just strong, meek woman, I mean, you can be both, and saying, I'm going to do what's right. We don't know because we didn't get to hear that part. But I want to choose to believe that she was strong and good. Okay? Even though God used this situation, I want to believe that she was strong and good. And she said no. I'm not going to come and be a trophy. I'm not going to be paraded around in front of all your drunk friends. Okay? And what did he do? He put her out. He sent her away because she did the right thing when he was drunk. Now, I'm not going to go into how many times your husband's done that or your dad's done that or whatever. We know that happens. But what did he do? He looked at his 7 princes and he looked at his 7 chamberlains, all men, and he said, what should I do? Do you think that he knew what he should have done? Do you think that as a king, he knew he was wrong for being drunk and trying to parade his wife around? Maybe not. He did not need 14 men to tell him to dump her because she was going to make other women disobey and disrespect their husbands. He had the wrong friends. Ladies, he had the wrong friends. So this is pertinent because we have to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with the right friends. A lot of times we have friends and we're like, well, they've been our friend forever, so we're going to stay friends with them, or they're kind of family, or they are people I work with, so I guess they're my friends, or whatever. And they are tearing down everything that we hold dear and we believe in, and we're too nice or too scared to say, I can't, I got to cut you out. I got to cut you out. I'm sorry. Wake up. Your friends determine a lot of how you grow in Christ. And how you grow as a person. You know, I don't want to just base this on this spiritual thing, because you grow as a person too. And I look at that growth as spiritual growth, but some people don't. And so when you don't look at that as spiritual growth, how are you growing in your moral compass? How are you growing as a person who is charitable, who gives back, who, you know, does things for others? How are you growing as that kind of person? If you're Christian, you're looking at that as love and, you know, all the fruits of the Spirit. But how are you doing that? Are the people around you helping you do that? Or do you need to prune some branches because you've got some dead ones on your tree? So I think that in that situation, surround yourself not with negative people, even negative spiritual people. You need to surround yourself with people who are not there to judge you and tell you, you know, we're going to secretly be worldly and laugh about it because we can do that. We're friends. And then, you know, you're going to be great on Sunday. You need to dig into the Father, and you're going to really look at those people like, what was I doing? You know, what was I really doing surrounding myself with temporal things and people when eternity is so important? You know, my family's important. Understanding and knowing who God is and growing is so important. So that's what I would recommend. Now, very, very practically, Dr. Sean McDowell, and Frank Turek, Turek. Those two are apologetics professor and kind of preacher or whatever, I don't know. But I have listened to so many of their videos, and you need to listen to them. If you're just looking for, like, if you feel like, and I coupled these things, you know, I got the relationship first. And then I said, you know, the verse in the Bible that says, you need to be able to answer every man. You need to be ready. I did not know how to do that because my answer was always, God said it. Well, that doesn't tell anyone anything. It tells you something because you have faith. What if someone doesn't have faith? What else? What else do you tell them? So there's this very practical side to this. So listen to them. And like I said, get on Real Talk Kim, her YouTube channel, and just, a lot of her things are for single people, but a lot of her things are also for fighting spiritual battles. Now, I would try to stay, if you're not of a certain religious persuasion that she is, I would stay away from the messages because you're not going to agree with some of the things she says from the Bible, but you will agree with her periscopes. So when you see her, hold on, I'm almost done, honey. When you see her sitting by herself in front of her computer like this, those are the ones you want to listen to, not when you see her preaching, because she's just talking to women when she's sitting in front of her computer like this. So those are the ones that are really good for just practical, really, really practical stuff. Like, she's real talk Kim, so she's going to tell you like it is. You know, she's pretty blunt. But that's the kind of thing I like. So if you like that kind of thing, she's one to listen to. But as far as the church hurt part, I just learned to let it go once I had the relationship. It's not, you're not going to just wake up one day and forgive. The most important part of all this is developing a relationship with God that's real. All the other stuff, you will understand, and it will come to you afterwards. The relationship has to be first. And so the believing, the understanding, God is not the author of confusion. So if you're confused about why you believe what you believe, or what you're even doing, what am I doing? I've been a Christian all these years, I don't even know what I'm doing. God is not the author of any of that. So press in, because he will give you the answers. Read the Bible, pray until, get your war room set up, get your secret place wherever it is, because you need a secret place. Watch the war room. It's amazing. And anybody else who has practical advice like that, I really want you to put it in the comments, please. If you've stayed with me through this whole video, I mean, I know it's long, I'm sorry, but if you've stayed with me, please put your practical stuff down there, because, I'm sorry, my daughter's being unruly right now. Please go in the living room. I'm almost done. Thank you. Put it in there, because we really need to support each other and help. And Elizabeth, please share this as much as you want. You can share it on your page. You can share it anywhere. I give you permission if you have other friends that might benefit from this. So, and if you have any questions, please ask them in message, or in the thread if you're watching this on my page. Bye.